Hello and welcome to the Gamers Academy YouTube channel. My name is Outlandish and I played this game competitively for 4 years, but I decided to retire, become a coach, and partner up together with Gamers Academy to provide you guys educational content to make you the best players you want to be. If you want to book with me or one of my colleagues individual coaching sessions, you can visit us on gamers-academy.com. You can find the homepage in the description below. In the first episode of Jungle Tracking, we talked about strong and weak side. We had a really basic example of that and how you can predict the enemy jungler's movement. But today, we will see a scenario where we have two strong sides. So how can you predict that and how can you know where the enemy jungler will path? All that in the upcoming video. As already said in the intro, today is the second episode of how to track the enemy jungler. In the first episode, if you remember, we discussed the strong and weak side, a really basic concept you can apply on yourself to define your own pathing and understand what the enemy jungler will do. We learned that it's really simple, that most junglers will always path to the strong side in early game, so you can know what their actions or what their movement are without even seeing them. And this was really basic, but today we will go a more advanced and probably a more realistic scenario, not probably in competitive gameplay, but more in solo queue, that everyone loves to play carries, everyone wants to be the star of the show, and everyone wants to take over. That's why I create this scenario where we have Aria against Riven on top lane, and on bot lane we have both lanes that have kill pressure with Nautilus Draven against Caitlyn Morgana. So in theory, two sides that both want resources, they both want jungle attention, and they both want to have perma skirmish around there. So how can we know where the enemy jungler will path without even seeing them? And how can we know what the enemy jungler will do and what the best option for yourself should be if you have multiple strong sides? And for this, there's just a really simple trick, and this is just called level 1 vision and applying wards on level 1 to track the enemy jungler. Utilizing vision level 1 is something really important to track the enemy jungler if you have multiple strong sides, as we have in the scenario right now I showed you on the map. We have Riven Aria on top side, and we have Draven against Caitlyn Morgana bot lane, so both sides want to have a lot of attention. So it's really hard to predict the enemy jungler's movement by defining a clear strong side, because they could technically path into both sides. So how can you spot the enemy jungler? And this is really important that you need to do is utilize vision level 1. The game doesn't start at 1:30, the game starts in the first second, so you need to find the right vision spots for you to be able to track the enemy jungler in a really efficient way. And in the current meta, we have since ages basically 2 wards and 2 places most of the junglers will ward. If you're the blue side jungler, in case you're Volibear, you have first of all the Raptor ward, which is the more common one. This ward gives you a lot of information because we have a full clear meta since ages, and a lot of junglers don't skip the Raptor camp because this camp gives a lot of value. It has a lot of gold, a lot of XP, and they want to reset this camp over and over again. So this camp will most likely get cleared after a few seconds after they did either red buff Krugs or they did full clear bot side and then go to Raptors. So after a few seconds, probably 30 seconds-ish, that enemy jungler will then be on Raptors, and you know which buff he started because either he's shining red or he's shining blue. The downside of this ward is that you need some time to understand which pathing he choose, because technically a lot of time is passing, and only after 30 or 45 seconds you know where the enemy jungler really is. The second downside about this ward is that there is a chance that the enemy jungler is just simply skipping the camp, which is really, really rare, but it happens, and then you have zero information about the enemy jungler, and a lot of junglers know about this ward, and that's why they're just dodging it, skipping the camp, and you have absolutely zero clue about what the enemy jungler will do. The more secure ward, or the ward that gives you even more information, is this direct red ward, red buff ward. This ward gives you clear information from the first second on at 1:30 is the enemy jungler starting blue buff or red buff. In this current meta, we don't have that much junglers, or absolutely no one that starts a camp. This is really, really rare that someone starts Raptors. It's most of the time either blue buff or red buff. So by this ward, you know already which path the enemy jungler will choose, and it's a really direct ward to make you understand what the enemy jungler will do. The downside of this ward is that you need to go deeper into the enemy jungler, and you could get punished. And the downside of it is that there could be cheesers, and they could possibly start Raptors into bot side, which is as I said, it's really, really unlikely because most of junglers will start above. So it's a 99% guaranteed ward that you know that if he starts red buff, he's pathing bot. If he starts blue buff, he's starting top. So this is something really easy. Obviously, you can do the same concept as a red side jungler as well. You're either warding the enemy red buff or the enemy raptors. And the downside about 2 wards is that a lot of people know about these wards, and a lot of junglers are autopiloting placing these wards, so they could technically trap either here, or if you're the blue side jungler, they could potentially trap here. So as an advice, if you have a jungler that has a skill shot that doesn't cost you too much mana and doesn't destroy your early game pathing, just use a skill check. This is the term to call check the enemy bush without face checking it. Jarvan flag, Lee Sin Q, Woody Bear E. You can use that by placing the ward on your own without being punished too much. The second option would be that you just take your top laner or mid laner by the hand. You just ping that you want to go here into ward, and he knows, okay, he needs some assistance level 1. To finish that up, why is no one placing wards on the blue buff is pretty simple, because you need to go really deep into the enemy jungler to get the ward on blue buff. This has a higher risk potential, and if you ward the wolves, it doesn't give you that much information, because the wolf camp isn't the most attractive one for junglers, and a lot of people are skipping that, and it doesn't give you that much information, because if you just ward this camp, it just gives you information if he starts the camp, if he's on the camp. But here, if you place a raptor ward, you have even different gank paths you could choose. You could gank from here, you could gank from here, and you know by this ward at different angles the jungler will come from. So this ward is way more efficient than compared to the blue buff ward. Yeah, I hope you understood how you can like predict the enemy jungler's movement by placing level 1 vision. It's really important that you understand that the game starts in the first second and not later, and that you already have a clear idea about what the enemy jungler will do. I would recommend you to look in the practice tool and find for you good spots to place wards, track the enemy jungler, and be careful about that if you're placing that in game, that you don't get punished for that, and use skills to skill check and make the vision game level 1 really safe for yourself. I hope you understood that and can apply that on your own gameplay. I hope you enjoyed the second episode about how to track the enemy jungler. We would appreciate if you like, subscribe, and activate the bell on our channel, and leave us some feedback in the comments. Do you like the content we are creating? And we can discuss about the topic, how to apply these concepts, and how to track the enemy jungler in your solo queue game. If you want to discuss with me and one of my colleagues in depth about this topic, you can join our official Discord server. You can find the link in the description below. Until then, see you next time, and I hope you had some fun. Goodbye.